Broadcaster Simi Sara says it was a happy accident when she fell into television.
No. Did I say that? I don't remember saying that.
I read it. I would only quote you if, well, don't believe everything you read.
I was a student, and I was very fortunate to continue working on when I interned at a TV station.
Okay.
I guess that's the way of falling into it.
That kind of happy accident.
That was a happy accident.
And you've done certainly lots of work, and you went to Langara?
I did. I went to Langara.
To
I went to Simon Fraser University. I went to Langara Journalism School. Yeah.
How did you meet one Dave Gary, that funny guy? Great broadcaster, funny man. You hosted a show with him.
Yeah, the great 3 years that we had together. I met Dave Gary literally, Fanny, on my very first day of work at the television station. I was a student interning at the station for 5 weeks. The empty desk was next to Dave Gary. And so they put this 21-year-old girl right out of journalism school next to Dave Gary, and that was really it. We hit it off from day one, and he was always very, very good to me and showed me the ropes and was patient with me, and we used to go out and have a great time. And you know.
Sure. Well, as you know, when you put two people on the air, the magic is either there or it's not. You can't grow it.
No. No.
You seem to have it with
Well,
him.
we had been friends for many, many years prior to that, and it was our dream to do something together. And when that opportunity came up, we leapt at it, and it was, we were friends before, we were friends after, and we just happened to do the show for 3 years.
What did you learn from him about how to be an effective communicator?
Dave,
how to tell a story?
Yeah, Dave is probably the most brilliant television writer I have ever come across. Like, I am in awe of his ability, and I still am. He just knows how to tell a story. He knows how to connect with people on a level that I've never seen anybody else be able to do that. He would go out and do streeters with people on the street, and people would be happy to line up and talk to him, whereas most of the time with reporters, you have a hard time getting people to stop and talk to you when you go out with a camera. But he just has a certain magic with people.
Yes, he has the Mike McCardle gene, too.
I prefer to call it the Kavorka from Seinfeld. That was just, he has that.
He
has that ability with people. Yeah.
Well, I was a roving reporter once, many moons ago again, and it's tough because you put a mic in somebody's face and they kind of run down the block, or they tell you to.
Yeah, they don't want to do it, right.
And they don't say it that nicely.
But he manages to always get the best out of people when he stops to talk to them. And they end up being hysterical, and they end up being like the total character in a story that you never saw coming. And he is just so incredibly good at it, so it's not any surprise that Dave is now in Toronto. And he will be hosting the new Global Toronto Morning Show come September.
Great.
Yes.
How great. Now, on your list of love to interview, like all of us, Mandela, Clinton, Tony Blair.
I've never interviewed any of those people.
George Clooney.
Oh, George Clooney.
You know, do you have people that you, because we all have our wish lists, the dream list. Next year, and you'll say this to your producer 100 times, try and get.
We've already had some discussions about that, you know, I think a lot of times we don't get the big interviews because we're either afraid to ask, or we think there's going to be too many layers of bureaucracy to get to those people.
Always ask.
Right,
You know
exactly.
that.
And so we've had that talk now about, you know, we're going to ask, or we're going to make those requests, and we'll just see what happens. A lot of times they can stop for 10 minutes and talk on the phone to us, and so we'll certainly be trying to get anybody and everybody that we can.
Well, sure, because you have the magic of a phone line. We don't. We call it, in the biz, we have to get meat in the seat.
Yeah,
They actually have to.
Huge difference.
They actually have to be here.
That's new for me, and I just thought it was so incredibly liberating. And I thought, what? You don't have to go chase them down with a camera? This is great. So it opens up a whole new world.
Sure does, because as you say, you can connect people
anywhere.
Panels. Will you have regulars? Have you thought about it? Are you that far?
We are thinking about that right now. We're kind of going through that process. You know, we want to make sure. I mean, Bill's got a lot of great regulars on in the morning on the Bill Good show.
And don't steal them, because I'm telling you, it's competitive. Yes.
He's got great people on there. Wouldn't that be nice if I could? No, I can't do that.
No.
Not at all. And that's one of the great things about NW. I've worked at other places where it's been quite competitive between shows. It's not like that. I mean, we're all working towards one goal there. And if you do this, we're going to try to further it and advance it with somebody else a little bit later in the day.
Sure. I'll share the incinerator guest with you, but I won't share George Clooney. You know how that is.
You know, George Clooney would probably like to be shared, Fanny.
You think?
So I don't think he'd have a problem with that, as long as we don't.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Tell me about your cooking incarnation, because you did have a cooking show.
What a great show. Oh, City Cooks. We loved doing City Cooks. I think everybody, all the crew, everybody who worked on it, it was a fantastic job that we did for 6 years. I think we did 1,000 episodes. Yeah, a
1,000?
Yeah,
more than 1,000.
Yes, we did more than 1,000
really?
episodes.
Jamie Oliver, I saw Jamie.
You know, my favorite all-time favorite guest on that show was, and I think really my favorite guest I've ever interviewed was Anthony Bourdain.
Oh,
he's
coming back. Did you know that?
No, I didn't
He
know
said,
that.
well, you have to get on it, Simi.
I think I better get on that.
I think he's here in October.
Oh.
And we hope to get him in this chair. And
I think you might have to wrestle me for that one.
Okay, well, that's okay. We
I
can
will
share.
definitely put him on the list. He was
yeah,
fantastic.
put him on the list because he's great and, well,
We
an
just interviewed
entertaining guy.
so many people who, even starting out, we might have gotten them at the beginning of their career who moved on, like Dale McKay, who just won Top Chef.
Right.
And when he first came to town to work at Lumiere, we had him on the show at that time. So it just turned out to be this great breeding ground for all sorts of chefs, really important, like people who went on to really make their name.
Sure. Do you have a weak area, a weak region, interviews you don't like to do, be it medical, food?
No.
You like current affairs, you like politics.
Yep, I think a healthy curiosity.
Sports? How are you on
love
sports? Okay.
Love sports. I think the thing about this show is somebody asked me once, like, how do you do all that? And I said, you know what? It's just curiosity. I think if you are curious enough about things, which I am, I'm curious about everything, you tend to ask questions that I think anybody would want asked, and they want to know just as much as I do. And that's just, I let that work for me.
Is there an investigative part of you where you would like to do the Peter Warren?
We talked about
The Peter Warren thing?
We talked about the Peter Warren thing, yes, and that's the great thing about having access to this fantastic newsroom that they have at CKNW. I mean, that's a machine, and they turn out some of the best investigative reporting in town. We will certainly have access to that, be able to work with them and break our own stuff as well.
Well, as you know, machines are machines. Global's a machine.
Yes.
It is. CKNW, a machine.
Oh.
I don't know this, but I think they could put Donald Duck on NW and Donald could get ratings. You know
Let's
how
hope
it is.
so. Let's hope
worked
so.
at
I'm as good as
stations-
Donald Duck, shall
Well,
we?
let's hope. Or Daisy. But
Yes.
there's some stations you can do fabulous radio, and
But I
no
don't
one's
think anybody
listening.
ever takes it for granted. I mean, that's a nice thing. Yes, this is a city where people really, their media viewing habits are out of habit. I've heard that said over and over and over again. I've been on
Yes.
the other side of it. Now that I'm on this side of it, I can tell you, nobody in that organization takes that for granted, right? We are constantly trying to stay on top of things because you can't let anybody get ahead of you. And so that's one of the fabulous things about working there is that people are hungry. They're still hungry.
Sure, and ask the question that you're afraid to ask always. It's the best advice I ever got, like how much you making, Simi?
Not going to tell you, Fanny.
I
How much are
figured.
you making, Fanny?
I'm not going to tell you, Simi. Nice to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Look forward to listening to you for sure. Thank you. Simi Sara, CKNW News Talk Radio.